Hello and welcome to Painting with Clifford. We're still working on Year 7K projects, so we're going to be using our Joel Penkman Fondant Fancy picture from last week and we're going to paint it. So you're going to need a size 8 bright flat brush, you're going to need a 12 flat brush, you're going to need a 50 primer, you need a 10 round, a 12 round, a 14 fill bit and all these other brushes. No, I'm joking. All you're going to need is probably a size 240 nylon brush. Same ones we use in school. This is one from school, just to make a point. Doesn't have to be the best for this. So protect your table. I've used a bit of card. I've got my brush ready. And if you know me very well, you know when I do my paintings, I use shot glasses. And the reason for this is because, well, acrylic paint is very expensive. And the amount I use, I need to get as much as I can. So when I do this, I fill up my shot glass halfway through. And I only technically use primary colours. I like to mix everything on the page, especially in a school setting. This is the only way we could really get away with doing acrylic for Key Stage 3 because we use a lot of it. So I've got my 5 paints, and when I'm done with them, I'll just put them in a lunchbox, keep them safe, keep it airtight, and you can use these up to, well, I've got a way of using the same paints for up to a month. So, and as you can see on the right side, these are the paints I've used before. So, onto our painting. First step I'm going to do is I'm going to use my red acrylic paint to record the dark tones of the Fondant Fancy first. So just a reminder, we are mixing all our paints on the page. No use of a palette, no use of ready-made colours. We're going to mix them all on there ourselves. I want to see all those brush marks. I want to see all the texture. And what I'm doing now is I'm adding white paint into the wet red and slowly blend it out into the centre. And as you can see, it's created my light reflection on the round shape of the Fondant Fancy. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more dark tone around here. Already I'm already starting to think the top part of this cake looks pretty good. But as part of this is a pastiche, so we're trying to make it a bit different to the original. We're going to kind of make it our own. So I'm using more impressionist kind of brush strokes. I like the texture it creates, and it also allows me to see all the marks and all the different directions I'm going. So I'm not going to over blend this. I want to see these brush marks. So I'll just add a bit more white because I think I made it just a little bit too dark. And it comes down to that one fundamental is refinement. The more you refine it, the better it's going to look. So you can see I'm just put a bit more white tone around the corner there. And just remember, this big white bar here is nice white. If you've got any white parts of the painting, paint it white. Don't leave it just paper. You want to see that texture, and you want to be able to like blend other colours into it. So as I look at the original picture, I think, oh, I might need to add just a little bit more dark tone. So just cleaning my brush there. You can see from my fingers, I've been removing paint with my hand. It's just a bit of a way of making these videos as short as I can. So, just adding a bit more dark tone to the corner. Now I feel like I've added a bit too much, so I'm just going to add my red back into it. And it's just creating those layers. So, just putting that dark tone in. Feel like it's become too much, add a little bit of white. Line it back up. So I'm just slowly blending that in. I'm just adding that white tone there. Now, this is what I'm doing to make it a bit more my own image. Now, when I look at the original, I think I like an over-exaggeration of light. So I'm actually using a tiny little hint of yellow. Kind of imagine there's a yellow reflection of light. So I'm just gently blending that on. So I'm going to leave that for a minute. I'm going to let it dry before I add any more refinements. I'm going to start working in this greyish blue background. So this is, I will admit, as I look back at this, I think this is quite a bit over the top, but I'm going to try creating like more of a flat kind of colour in the background. So I'm going to mix it on the page. Normally you'd mix your colour first on a palette, and obviously the colour will be there, but this is more of me trying something a bit new here. So put a nice layer of white paint on, leaving it wet, and I'm going to slowly add a little bit of blue as I go along. Now to create a flat texture, you want to move in all directions over the top until it smooths out, just like buttering toast. As I've noticed, I feel like I kind of want to spread this blue a little bit further, so I'm just going to place it around the background, and I'm going to just blend those through, realising I want to make it a little bit darker as well to give it that nice grey effect. So, but the main thing I need to do is ensure that the majority of this is white, so it's not as strong as the blue and the black. So I'm going to make sure I blend a lot of that in, kind of mix it in. Now normally I would paint the background first on a picture, but because we're working on our drawing from last week, it's kind of technically already there. So I'm trying to also get rid of some of the pencil marks we had before. I'm just creating like a few different layers. So I'm just going back and forth in different directions. Try not to get any on the original cake. Actually, it's starting to look quite nice. So I'm just trying to smooth it all in one direction, and then go back in the other, just to help flatten it. Now to get a pure flat colour, you do this multiple times, but I'm quite happy with that, trying to stick with my idea of the impressionist tones. And I'm going to do the same for the bottom bit here. Now, most people just normally leave this white. I'd say if it's white on the picture, I'd paint it white. So I'm just going to add a little bit more to the shadow underneath. Now, it's not just black and white down here. There's different variations of colour, and we obviously want to over-exaggerate those colours like we did with the yellow at the top. So get my black and white on first so I can understand where my shadow's going to go. You might be thinking, why am I doing the background when I've not finished the cake? Well, it's, for me personally, I like to kind of leave the most rewarding and most exciting parts at the end, and the cake base looks probably the most complicated, but actually what really brings the picture out, so I'm leaving that to the end. So I'm just doing this background shadow here, blend that in with the white. Now I'm using quite a lot of white here. You might have also noticed I haven't been cleaning my brushes often as I should, but what I'm doing is I'm just taking a small amount of paint at a time and using the paint that's already on my brush to help blend it in. It's what I like to call a dirty technique, but it works, and it creates those nice over-exaggeration of colours. It's part of the challenge of not being able to mix on a palette, and it does really kind of help with the like I said, the nice texture you get for this background. So I'm just continuously adding white to this, just blend it out small bits at a time. And that's one of the things you need to realise with a painting, is it's not going to be done in seconds. I'm rushing these as fast as I can because obviously you don't want to be sitting there watching me for 2 hours mastering a painting. You want to see how we can do this nice and quick. So, but part of the refinement process, and is one of the most important parts of a painting, involves creating multiple layers. As you can see here, I'm creating another layer over the top, thinking, oh, actually, I could do this one a little bit better. Let's blend this out a bit and then refine it with a bit more colour. Add a bit more white, lighten it up. And just knitting in some of these edges. So, add a little bit of dark tone in the corner there. I won't lie, this is as I said, I tried doing this in one take rather than doing about 3 or 4 of these. I realised halfway through, I think I didn't put enough white on when I originally blended it in, so I'm having to make it up. You can see from the top there, I'm trying to gently blend that white into that blue, but able to tell a difference. And I'm moving on. So this is my favourite bit. This is where the cake, you really bring it out. So looking back at the original picture, I'm trying to avoid just using black and white for this. I'm trying to over-exaggerate some colours. So I'm sticking with my kind of red and white blending, starting from the dark creases off the cake. I'm just brushing down and brushing out. So I put my dark on first, and then I use my white to blend out. I'm going to go along and just build these up bit by bit. So just gently adding that red. Now, I've done this picture before where I've tried using multiple different colours, but because the top part of the cake has that over exaggeration of red and black, I'm going to kind of make that more of my main focus colour. I can still use my yellow and a little bit of blue for obviously the reflections around it, but the red and white kind of takes dominance over this object, so I kind of want it to contrast the background. So I'm just going to add a little bit more. So you can see I'm just doing gentle little taps, little refinement. And every time I put a bit of paint on this page, I look back and think, what else can I add to make this better? And that always instructs me for my next brush stroke, like what is it missing? What has gone wrong? What can I fix? And that's what we should do every time we apply paint. We should reevaluate, observe, and refine. I start to think, oh, I made a few mistakes here. I think there's a bit too much red. Let's put some white. Those black marks seem to take over too much. Let's blend those out a bit. Just small parts of refinement. So as I just remind you, I'm trying to do this in one take. So rather than stopping and doing this all over again, if I made a massive mistake, I refine it, I go over the top. Most of you, I've seen you in the classroom get frustrated when it all goes wrong, and rather than just giving up and thinking, oh God, it's a mess, we refine it, we add to it, we change things. If you break something, you don't just bin it, you fix it. And that's what we're doing here. A little bit of refinement, and actually it's really starting to come together. Every single brush stroke I put on here, I'm starting to feel a bit more confident about the image and just blend it out. And as I said, this is a pastiche. We're making it our own. I'm using very impressionist marks. I kind of want to see every bit of texture and every single brush stroke on my painting. Because that's kind of like the benefit we get from mixing on the page. And you can even see where some of the colours have separated. Yeah, just add a little bit more dark tone with the red. I'm just going to refine the shadow underneath. Now that I've looked back at it and I think, oh, maybe I want to reflect more of what I painted already. Now, part of the real challenge of this is that we've kind of painted over a tonal drawing. So if you're watching this before doing your painting, what you could do is ignore the step from the previous lesson where we added tone to drawing and try doing this without any tone on there at all. Just put the tone completely on with the paint. You wouldn't have to do what I've done here and try to overcompensate with bright, vibrant colours. You can probably have a bit more fun with the blending. So just a reminder, I've added no water to thin this paint. It's gone straight from the acrylic. I want to get that nice, big, thick texture out. A bit more white paint for a light reflection. Just find any parts I'm just not too sure with. So, I think I'm pretty happy with that. So, let's call it a day. Let's have a look. Yeah, pretty good. So let's tub up our paints first. So just remind you, get a lunchbox, put them in there, clean your brushes as well, and make sure you put the lid on nice and tight so they don't dry out. You can use them for like I said, the next month. Let's get rid of this awful bit of card, and let's have a look at our picture ones. So it's worked. For what we're doing, mixing prime colours on the page, it has over exaggeration of light. I love the use of yellow. It's completely different to the original and it works. So I wish you guys best of luck and see you soon. Bye.